So let's start with this book, Will Bury Me by Ashley Winstead, which I got as an ARC from NetGalley. This is a story of a girl that loses her dad and then gets entangled into this internet sleuth site where she's going to meet a lot of different people that are looking into different disappearances or murders. So it's kind of telling us the story from the beginning and how she got to that point when she was being arrested. So to me, it sounds really interesting. So I'll start reading it, and maybe when I'm 20% into the book, I'll get back to you and let you know how it's going. And this is what my room looks like, because I need to bring my bed, and yeah, I mean, there's a lot of random stuff in the room, but it's pretty empty. And look, and this is the beginning of my garden. So it's about time to start dinner, but I wanted to give you an update. I'm 20% into this book, Will Bury Me, and I have to say that for now, it's keeping my interest. It's very easy to read. There's a lot of dialogue, so it makes it faster to turn the pages. One thing I have to say though, from the beginning, we know that the dad dies and he has a heart attack. And because of him having a heart attack, there's a lot of talk about weight loss, healthy eating, exercising, and also the way I see it is almost like victim blaming. Like if you die, I mean, you may not be a victim, but you know what I'm saying? There is a little tone of that in the book, and I find it a little off-putting. It's not something terrible, but I just don't care for the little commentaries on how they're gonna turn healthy, because it's not about we're gonna make better choices that maybe your dad didn't make, but it's also more like we're not gonna eat anything but fruit and vegetables. Like, it's an extreme. So if you have or ever had an eating disorder, you know that's one of the things that where it starts, where you're restricting yourself from something, and when you inevitably go back to those things that you prohibit yourself, you get this guilt, this immense guilt, and it's almost making me feel that way. So the conversations between mom and daughter, it's a little bit extreme, like the methods that are being suggested by the mom. I think they're very extreme and very triggering, to say the least. So, you know, just make sure that you know that that's part of this, or at least the beginning of this book. I'm interested, I'm into it. I just got the audiobook that just released today. So I'm gonna go and make dinner. I'm going to make steak, broccoli, stir fry with noodles, and while I do that, I'm gonna be listening to the audiobook, and hopefully I'll give you an update probably tomorrow when I am at least 50% into this book.
Running from our comfort zone without thinking twice. And I knew it would catch up, and that we would be the one left behind. Stories I've been told, they never seem to leave my mind. And this road that I am on, I gotta stay here for some time. Time is gone and I grew up. I somehow made it through without.
Hi, it's the next day. I'm at work, and right before I start my shift, I wanted to give you a little update. I am 48% into the book, and it's slowly losing me. And the reason why I think it's losing me is because it continues to sound very, very young, even though not all these amateur sleuth are college age kids. They sound like they are. They're very aware of cancel culture, and I don't know, like they use people knowing or without knowing, sharing information that they're not even sure is actually what happened, like point to a suspect on a crime and not thinking about the consequences of doing that if that said person is actually not guilty. So I feel like if you are into true crime and maybe you're younger than me and you identify with that kind of lingo and, you know, the way that the internet works today and this cancel culture, and like I'm listening to the audiobook and I'm reading it as well, and I'm getting the same thing from both. It's the tone of the book. It's very, very young. It is my personal belief that the internet can be a very toxic place, and it's something that we all need to be aware of. Just people thinking, making up their own minds about who you are because of a clip that they see online or because something you said in the past. And it seems like I am on a drama channel on YouTube, and drama is about a crime. And the way that some of these amateur sleuths are behaving, and they're sharing information with other people in order to spread this information that ends up being misinformation, it's kind of triggering, honestly, and it's my least favorite part of the internet. Again, it may be because I'm an older millennial and maybe I can't really relate to the way this people or a younger generation feels about canceling somebody for saying or doing something. Or, you know, I also have to say that there's a lot of young people out there that are extremely smart. I follow them on TikTok, and, you know, younger kids talking about politics and talking about policies and changes and strategies that I can't even begin to think for myself. But once I see them exploring a different topic, I'm like, well, that makes sense. So, you know, I'm not saying that because it's a younger generation I don't agree. It's just that the part of the internet and the part of social media, the toxic part of social media, it really is my least favorite part of the internet. And I also have to say that the continuous talk about obesity, losing weight, hiding food from a person that is trying to be health conscious because, you know, you feel like you will disappoint them if you're eating French fries and a hamburger for dinner. It's still a conversation even at this point in the book. And again, it's not my favorite thing. So it could be a combination of both things. And there's also a lot of social issues that are brought up. There's also a lot of racism, talk about racism. Not that that's happening, but it's... And so I feel like these amateur sleuths are aware of social issues and without getting into what's wrong and what's right. But it's also like one of those things that it's one of the social issues that I feel like it depends how it's talked about. It depends how the author portrays these characters in that specific situation, which I'm trying to be vague, it really will be like, oh, well, this is an important message, or we don't need any more of this. So as we're trying to find out who did it, and this is about the Delphi murders that they're on right now, and it's based on that true crime case that happened in Idaho. So right now we're trying to figure out who did it, but instead of like pointing to different directions and making you think could have been this person, could have been this person, could have been this person, and kind of help your mind wonder who did it, I'm kind of in the opposite, because at this point I'm like, we're exploring all these people that they truly believe was the responsible one, but then we have to go through what happens after you share that information or after you start investigating that person. You know, the author is not able to shift the narrative to different people to make me think for myself who did it. It's almost like I'm following their train of thoughts, and maybe that's not what triggered my interest. I'm kind of disappointed at this point, but I'll talk to you guys later, and we'll see. Maybe at 75%, I'll update you again, and then we'll do the wrap up when I finish it. So it's the next day, and I had the morning off. It's been raining nonstop, and I had a lot of inside cleaning to get done. I decided to finish the book, This Book Will Bury Me by Ashley Winstead, and I have to say that the last 3 hours I had to do it exclusively on audiobook, not only because I wanted to get stuff done, but also because I wasn't paying attention when I was just reading the words, and that usually happens when I'm not interested in the story, I'm not interested in the plot, or I'm not invested in the characters, and that was the case for the three things. I think this was not the book for me for reasons I mentioned before, and so I just couldn't connect to any of the characters by the end of this book. I did not care what was happening to any of them, and I was able to predict who the killer was or who was at fault from very early on. I would say, I think from the last update, I kind of had an idea who was the one that was behind it. I also, while I was drafting my review, I've read a lot of reviews that were saying that because this is inspired on a true crime case, there are some things that are the same, and people were DNFing and giving a 1-star, which I think it's so super unfair, because there are true crime books out there that explore specifically cases, and this one is inspired by it. I think The Nothing Man is another one that was inspired on a true crime serial killer. So I just feel like it's very unfair to read a book knowing that from the beginning the author tells you that this is based on a true crime story and kind of explain her reasons for it, still continue to read it just to DNF it because it wasn't what you expected. And I feel personally that if you say that this is a DNF and you still rate it 1 star. I feel like you're just hating on the genre or hating on the idea of the book, but not hating on the book itself, which is there's a big difference between those two. So yes, I think that this, and that the author knew that this was gonna ruffle some feathers, but at the same time she took the time to write it in the beginning, so you knew what you were reading and what you were gonna get into to make a decision from the very beginning. It's also in the synopsis. I mean, you can read that this is what that book is about. And again, I understand that some people will really hate that because it's not what they want, but I feel like my problem with the book, they have a different problem. So we all can agree to disagree on that. I didn't find it disrespectful, or I didn't find it like she was trying to make money out of a tragedy. I mean, this is a work of fiction loosely inspired in something that happened, that it was horrible, and I'm not even following that case, because at the time that happened, my daughter was living away in college, and I did not need the stress or the anxiety of thinking about those things. So I understand how that can make some people feel. I completely understand. So for me, this is a 3-star book. Like I said, the writing is good, the audiobook is amazing, and if the themes that are touched in this book are something that you enjoy or you think it sparks your interest, I think it's a good book. It wasn't for me, but it wasn't a bad book. I'm okay with the idea that this was loosely inspired on a true crime case, and I do know the facts that were shared on this book that are true. Now I know, but it doesn't really bother me in particular. But if this is something that you think that might bother you or trigger you or make you feel anxious or sad or whatever the case may be, I mean, it's from the beginning. She'll explain it before chapter 1, and that way you can decide if this is the kind of book that you want to read or not, because life is too short. We're gonna die, and we're gonna have books that we never read, and it's okay to move on from a book that you're not really enjoying. Like I said, this wasn't a terrible book. That's why I didn't DNF it, and I felt like I wanted to give my feedback on these things, like the issue with the dad dying of a heart attack, and the mentioning of this obesity and how that affects the body, and how your arteries will, that is one of those things that I thought it was important to mention, because I did not see any reviews that talk about that. And maybe it's because it's a personal trigger of mine that won't stop me from reading the book, but it will give me all the feels. And it's kind of icky for me. So I thought that it was important that I finished the book and that I understood where that was taking us. And I have to say that at the end, when she finds out her truth, or why her dad didn't take the pills that he was supposed to be taking for his heart, the explanation that she gave at the end was kind of silly, honestly. It kind of touched on the science behind what really happened inside the body while he was having a heart attack, and also the spiritual part, or what she thought about that. And I didn't think it was a big revelation. Okay, we all know what happens when you have a heart attack, and giving you the specifics of what is exactly happening inside the body, I just thought that was unnecessary. But again, I know it's more because I am just not liking the whole theme as it is, but it may be something that for other people will make a lot of sense. So let me know if you've read this book. Have you started? What is your impression of this book? Do you think it's an amazing book and I'm just hating on something that you love, or is it too young? Let me know what you think about this book. I really am interested, because these are just my personal thoughts, but as always, reading is subjective, and other people might love this book and will be life-changing. unfortunately, I've seen that a lot of the good reviews that is getting are being affected by the 1-star reviews of people DNFing, because they say, you know, DNF'd 1 star. And I don't know, it's just a conversation that we should have, is should we rate a book that we didn't finish? I don't think so. I think you either finish the book or you DNF it. And the only way to give a review about something is to know what it's about. And if you just read a percentage and something triggers you, that's okay to put it down. But at the same time, I don't think it's okay to put it down in a review. But you let me know what you think. Thank you so much for being here today, guys. I truly appreciate it, and I'll see you guys next time.